Another wide open space. If I could turn around, I would. Hey guys, you're watching Riding with Marshall again, and that would make me, I might be Marshall. Anyway, I have a date today. I've been seeing other bikes. I'm always seeing other bikes. I'm a playa. Anyway, this dealership right here, NOCO Power Sports, Northern Colorado Power Sports, a John Elway dealership, is letting me play with this today. Yes, you know what that is. A BMW K1600GTL. It's the Goldwing killer of a few years ago. And I'm gonna go play with it. And it's brand new. I do have to give it back. What do you think? Is that a worthy date? Nice windshield. I think we'll take Timberline north. Normally I test the brakes, and that's what I'm doing right here. Brakes are perfect, like you would expect on a very nice BMW. Yeah, she moves like a racing bike, like a sport bike. So I've reviewed this bike already, and you probably saw it. And now I know that I grabbed too much of a handful of throttle. The throttle is really touchy on this. Not that it's not linear, because it is, if you're gentle with it. It's not that it's a snatchy throttle. It's just that a little bit goes a long way. .53 miles an hour, and I'm barely touching 3,000 RPMs. Shows you what this bike is capable of. So, breaking in a new bike. A brand new bike has brand new tires. And just the same as when you put on a brand new tire on your old bike. The tires have a casing on them so that they can easily be removed from the molds. That casing can be slippery. So you don't want to do any fast tricks with a brand new bike. Don't count on the tires to be at their optimum performance just because they're new, because that's not how any of this works. You need to scrub off the casing probably for the first 50 miles. Oh, I could get used to this. I had a Goldwing, and this is very similar to the Goldwing, except lighter and faster. The clutch release is a little out further. Turn in is nice, but you notice I didn't do the turn in really fast. I'm not used to the bike yet. I don't know how many miles are on the tires. And I made the rookie mistake of not adjusting my mirror. I was a little excited. I was expecting a BMW GS today, and I got this one instead. I even got permission to take it out of state. Oh, this is super smooth. I don't remember if it was Cycle World or if it was Motorcycle News or motorcycle.com. I think it was Cycle World because I actually got their magazine back then. And when this bike came out, and I want to say 2012, 2014, somewhere in there, they declared it the Goldwing killer. Actually, I want to go straight. And as usual, follow a billboard, or not a billboard, but a big thing, a wall. They marked it as the Goldwing killer because it was in every way as comfortable as a Goldwing. Even has a reverse gear, but it's also faster. So going back to my topic of breaking in a bike, besides the tires and scrubbing off the casing, the next thing is you don't want to make any sudden moves with it. You figure it was put together at a factory. The factory, you know, all the parts, if they're put together right, are great, but none of them have actually been in use. So we're putting the motorcycle in use, and you want to get it used to each other. It's like brand new neighbors. You kind of feel each other out as far as all the parts that make up the bike goes. You want valve seats to learn to seat properly in their right spot. You want piston rings to seat into their piston chamber correctly. I got a Prius cutting in here. Fine, whatever. And to do that, you don't want high RPMs. You don't want to race a brand new engine. What you do want is a variation of RPMs. So I'm city driving it for the first few miles here. We're going to use all its gears today. And one thing I don't want to do is just hop on the interstate, set the cruise to 70 and just keep going. Because that one set of RPMs and that one gear will get all kinds of seating in, and the other ones won't. But even the dealer told me just now, he said, just ride it like you stole it. I'm a little more cautious. Now, if you saw the NC750X video, which is taking off, I'm really surprised at that because the wind noise was terrible. In fact, I put a mic inside my helmet just because of that video. In my review of the Honda NC750X, you heard me say I was going to gun the engine. Well, that was a DCT, and the DCT will stop you, it'll shift gears before you even hit the rev limiter. So it's really hard to kill a Honda because they take precautions like that. Now this is a manual, so I don't have a DCT to protect it. So I'm going to give it a variation of RPMs. But I'm not going to race it out. You're not going to see me redline it. Oh, it's ridiculously smooth, though. I really see why they said it killed the Goldwing. The Goldwing was a smooth bike, don't get me wrong. There's a reason why you see so many people on it, and you go, why are they on a Goldwing instead of a Harley? Well, it's the same reason why older gentlemen drive Cadillacs instead of a Mustang. Maybe they've got a Mustang in the garage, you don't know. But for the long journeys, they pick a comfortable ride. Except for my love of the DCT, which I really do love the idea of an automatic bike. Because already I should be downshifting and I wasn't. Wow, this would be a serious runner-up for a wing, that's for darn sure. And if DCT means nothing to you and you don't want a DCT, there's really no reason not to get this. Other than I want the clutch release to be a little closer. So, breaking in a motorcycle. What else am I going to tell you other than read the manual? You really need to read the manual and know when the first service should be done. Some brands put in very good oil in their bikes. Some brands, like the ones you get from, say, Asia, I don't mean Japan, I mean Asia, China. The factory oil has been known to have yarn in it. Just ask Ryan at Fort 9 about that. You want to break in the engine with bad oil, because not bad oil. You just don't want to use your premium oil and expect to go 10,000 miles on that first oil. You want to get it out of there as soon as possible. So if I put 450 miles on this bike, which I don't know that I'll do today, but if I did, the dealer said it would go into first service already. When the engine is breaking in and its rings are pushing away and those newly milled piston sleeves, they might shave off some metal. They might shave off some Nikasil if they're Nikasil line cylinders. But regardless, imperfections will be worn away. Well, those imperfections end up in your oil. And, hopefully the oil filter. But we'll just say a combination of both, your oil and your oil filter. So your first service is probably the most important service you'll ever have done on your bike. And they can be expensive because they check everything. They check the torque of all your bolts. They check they don't just change the oil if you're at a reputable dealer. They might even check the valves. But if you ask your dealer what's in a first service, you'll get a long list of things and you'll decide, well, it's probably worth the price. So the one thing I'm noticing about this display, I don't see my gas. So that's something I'm going to want to look at. Normally that's the first thing you see. So we're currently in road mode. The radio is off. I can see that part. I have a learning curve here. This electric windshield really is perfect, though. It's shielding me very nicely. This guy's coming in wide. hate long clutches. I don't want to whip out in front of these cars. That's one thing I'll say about the Goldwing. The clutch release on the Goldwing was right there at the handle. Very controlled. This seat is extremely comfortable. It's very nice. We'll see what it's like going over these tracks, which I will slow down for. Brand new shocks and everything, folks. Yeah, that was nice. Rear brake, great. Front brake, awesome. That clutch release, though, is way out there. You do feel the weight, just like a wing. You feel the weight when you come up to a stop. And it doesn't weigh as much as a wing, but I'm still feeling that weight when I come up. It's more composed in turns, though, than my wing was. Maybe it's got a shorter wheelbase. I'm being gentler than I need to be because it's not my bike. If I wasn't so much into dirt roads, I'll tell you, this would be a temptation. Now, it's not a DCT either, so I have to shift down. I got this snow berm right in my way, too. Thanks, guys. Welcome to Wellington. Put a snow berm in your way. Oh, it pulls. Front end comes up when you give it gas. And it has a quick shifter built in. Why am I dealing with a clutch when I can be using the quick shifter? So I adjusted the clutch down to 1 on this little knob right here. And that brought the point of the clutch release point to about the mid-level, which is fine. My Harley's at that level too now, I think. I've got the Fury is at somewhat close to that level as well. We're braking in this machine. I just filled the tank. What's interesting is there's no fuel gauge. The gauge is a digital gauge up in the right-hand corner. See it? 228 miles left. There's really nothing wrong with that. I was just, you get so used to an analog view of some kind. You like to see a big long line of green knowing that you have a full tank. Also, opening the gas tank was a little tricky without reading the manual first. It's nothing at all as long as you have the key fob on you and you turn off the bike. But if you leave the bike on, thinking that it's electric in some way, it's locked and it will not let you open it. Just German, I don't know, idiosyncrasies of really interesting locking hardware on your gas cap. I suppose it's a good thing, having a locking gas cap built in. No other bike does that to my knowledge. Now I have to tell you that this windshield is the closest windshield that I have found on any other bike to actually doing its job. I'm spoiled rotten from having the pre-generation Goldwing, and I lived in a silent bubble of air. You couldn't even hear the engine. It wasn't even wind noise. It was just you could hear the engine. It sounded much like this one, but it wasn't very loud. You could hear the stereo very easily. This is the closest one to that, being that this huge shield of plastic does a great job of shielding me from the wind. Now, if I decide to go all the way up to Wyoming, odds are we're going to run into some nasty wind up there, in which case I might just turn around. Well, we'll see what the wind is like up here. How can we lug this thing? We're in third. It's not really lugging though, which for a V6, you wouldn't think that it would lug. Now, if it was the V-twin version, it would definitely lug a little bit, taking that turn in third, but not much. Yeah, that was definitive, wasn't it? It would definitely lug, but not much. My legs on this bike are neatly shielded from the wind. In fact, I'm wondering if I'm not overdressed for this because I'm wearing sweats underneath my riding jeans. Check our passing power in fifth gear is really good. The wind's making me dance now. Yep, don't want to go that fast. Passing power is, well, I'd say adequate. Once again, reminds me of my wing because I'm sure the horsepower is significantly more on this, but I'm fighting a lot of wind, so too much wind. Ugh, way too much wind. Might help me when going back, but lowering the windshield certainly helped. You can see the mountains of the Snowy Range up there. Might need to switch to dynamic mode just to handle the wind shear. One thing I'll say is that the tires on this don't feel very well planted. Their choice of stock tires might be great on a hot summer day. Probably not real hot at 54 degrees. How's this for a roller coaster road? So does this bike have heated grips? Well, that's a very good question, because I don't see a button for it. Welcome to Wyoming. And we expect the wind to get mighty worse. Still 25 miles from my destination, and as soon as you cross into Wyoming, the wind picks up substantially. It's like they knew right where to place the border. "45 degrees now." Well, this ain't gonna get us very far, is it? Let's pull over and see where we're at. And there it is. Elway Power Sports of Laramie. Here we are. And I promised I'd get a photo for Jonathan at Noco Power Sports for letting me ride it. And I'm the one that chose to ride it to this other Elway location. I didn't have to, but I chose it. If I can find which one my phone is in. Look, my reflection. That was some wind, wasn't it? So I stopped at McDonald's to get a coffee before I head back through that wind, which today has gusts of up to 60 miles an hour. Most of it's around 30, but some of it's 60. The gal in McDonald's was just telling me about her sign up here. The wind has crushed in the McDonald's sign. Hopefully you can see that. See if I can get a little closer. It's funny because in Colorado, they'll warn you if there's a snowflake and it's suddenly snowpocalypse on the news. Wyoming is just like, yeah, it's windy. So what? It's always windy. That's why I like Wyoming. But now I'm gonna head home where there's less wind, and hopefully the wind will be behind me on the bike. Let's find out together. So I'm almost out of battery, but I wanted to say, would I buy this BMW K1600GTL? Oh yeah. The only misgiving I have about it is where the clutch engagement point is, and I can learn that. But yeah, the engine in dynamic mode especially is wonderful. I wish I would have taken it out of road mode before now and used dynamic mode. But yeah, the bike is... if I can ride it in these winds all the way to Laramie, you can ride it across the country, no worries. So thanks for riding with me today, and thanks for NoCo Power Sports for letting me play with it for a day. I mean, my life sucks, doesn't it? People just hand me a bike for an entire day, say go throw some miles on it. So and then trust me to take it out of state. Yeah, life is horrible. Plus you know, this kind of view too. First the bike, now the view. Final word, while there's still battery, the top case, that one, holds my helmet with the GoPro mount on it and everything. Well, I mean the mount, not the whole camera thing. The seat was comfortable for all these miles. I'm trying to put close to 200 on them. We'll see. What an enjoyable bike. I really liked it. Steering is a little different, but on a Goldwing, steering's a little different too. Every bike has something you get used to. What an enjoyable day though. I hope you enjoyed the ride. And if you did, maybe you might want to subscribe, throw a like, all those other things all those other YouTubers tell you to do. And you probably can't even hear me for all the wind. But thanks for riding with Marshall.